Hello friends, welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making cheese stuffed manicotti with meat sauce. So what you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this, and if you're eyeballing the string cheese, yes, that's exactly what that is. We're going to use that to put into the manicotti shells. Rather than making up some kind of a cheese mixture to put in them, we're going to take a quicker route and make this a little bit of easier meal to make. So yes, that is string cheese. So what we're going to do is start off with a medium onion, which we're going to cut this into smaller pieces. We want just little tiny bits of this to go into the manicotti. It's going to be in your sauce. You just don't want large pieces of onion in that. So we're going to cut them up into smaller bits. And once they're all completely cut up, we're going to go ahead and add these to a large skillet with some olive oil to get them going. So once you get them cut up small, we're not talking large round pieces, we just want some smaller ones. Then we're going to move them over to the skillet and get going with that. Just want to make sure that we break up some of the larger bits of it. We don't want anything really huge going in there, because sometimes when you have larger bits of onion, it doesn't cook up as well as if you have the smaller pieces that are easier to mix into your sauce. So put your olive oil into the pan. I say anywhere from 2 to 3 tablespoons, because we need something in the bottom to have the onions cooking in before we add any other ingredients. So we're going to go ahead and add these onions. We are on at least medium high heat. We want to get these cooking through, and it's going to take a few minutes to cook the onions. So go ahead and mix them back and forth in the olive oil to make sure they're really coated. Because by the time we're done with this, we're also going to add into this some red and green pepper, and we're going to cook all of this for almost about 5 minutes, but the onions need just a little bit longer to get done. So go ahead and have your pan heating up, mix them around a little bit, and then we're going to add in about 1/3 of a cup of red and green pepper cut up into pieces. And then once that is in there, again, mix it up a little bit, because we want this all to start like simmering and sauteing to a point to where it's going to actually start cooking through the onions, which again, you want them to get to a point where they've cooked down a bit before you ever let them hit the sauce. So like I said, these are going to cook for a good 4 or 5 minutes. We're going to mix them up a bit along the way. And to this, we're going to add a tablespoon of minced garlic. We're going to add this in and let it cook as well. Now, mind you, with this garlic, it's going to cook for a couple minutes, and then you're going to start to smell it. That's when you're going to know that you're actually getting to a point where this stuff is actually cooked enough to deal with. Because the garlic is the telltale thing. It will smell, but it'll smell good. So periodically stir this as you go along. And then when you get to the 5-minute marker, then we're going to go ahead and add in our ground beef. Just make sure that everything is pretty cooked at this point. And then you put your pound of ground beef in it, and we are going to just let this heat up. And as it's cooking, we're going to go ahead and add to this a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to mix this all together. So as it's browning, go ahead and bring the peppers and the onions and everything into the ground beef a little at a time, and just get them all mixed together. So that way the flavor from those are going to work their way into the ground beef. Now again, you should have this on pretty much medium to high heat, so that way it does cook through. And you're just going to cook this until it gets really browned as far as the ground beef is concerned. If you get a bunch of oil or grease in your pan, you want to go ahead and spoon some of that out, because we don't want it to stay in there and set up shop. And then we're going to add a can of diced Italian tomatoes. And this is like a 14.5 ounce can, which is the flavored kind that has like basil, garlic, and oregano in it. And then we're going to mix this through a little bit. Now, once that's mixed in, we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder to this, and then 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And then we're going to mix it up again to make sure everything mixes through on those spices to get them into the meat, the onion, the peppers. Get everything kind of like, married together to where they actually taste really good, because the flavor is really going to be working in this. Now, once you get it all mixed together, then we're going to add a full can of some kind of spaghetti sauce, your choice, whichever you want to use. I use garlic and herb, and this is actually a 24-ounce can. You can use the jars, the cans, the whatever kind you need. But mine was 24 ounces, so it fits what I have going on here. So it's like a larger container. And then once that's in, we're going to mix it all together. And then I am going to do that thing that everybody talks bad to me about. I am going to put a tablespoon of sugar in this. And by putting in the sugar, you're actually going to cut down on that acidic taste that you get from tomatoes. That's about the only way you really can describe this, is you don't really want a lot of that acidy taste when you're mixing this in. So as you mix this into everything else in the skillet, it's just going to give it this really kind of a little edge of sweet taste, but the rest of it, it's just going to curb down anything that's way too acidic. Now, once that is cooked, we're going to set it to the side, and we're going to do a large pot, which we are going to put in water, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and some salt, and we're going to cook the manicotti shells, which I am using 8 shells for mine because that's as long as the pan that I'm using, because I think the thing I'm using is like 8 by 10.5 or something. So 8 of these fit perfectly inside of it. So we want to put them in and cook them per the directions on the container that you got them out of. And once they're done, we're going to bring them out and set them in a bowl to the side, because at this point you need to take the covering off of your string cheese, because the string cheese are going to go inside of these once they cool down a little bit when we're assembling our pan for the oven. So once you know these are totally cooked, just go ahead and remove them from your pot. Now we're going to spray our container that we're cooking in with a little bit of nonstick cooking spray, because we don't want any of this setting up shop and being hard to clean up later. And then we're going to take some of the spaghetti sauce that we made up earlier, and we're going to put it into the bottom of here. So this is our meat sauce. It's going all over the bottom. And once we get this in, we're going to layer our manicotti across the bottom, but we're going to put in 1 string cheese per manicotti shell as it goes into the bottom of this dish. So you take it, slide it into the middle, and then just sit it in. And you're going to do this 8 times, and that is going to go all the way across the bottom of the pan. And once you get this all set up, then we're going to come through and add another layer of some meat sauce. And then we're going to do something. Now, you can use ricotta cheese on top of this next layer, or you can use small curd cottage cheese. I use cottage cheese just because I prefer the taste of it and the texture. You can use ricotta if you want to. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. You can use whichever you want. But whatever you're using, you're going to put a thin layer of it across this meat layer that just went into the container. So, and you're just going to put it in there and spread it out all the way across until you've got a good layer going. Because if anything, this is going to punch the flavor of the whole meal, just for the fact that you're getting a different kind of cheese in there with. Now, once you get that completely covered in there, then we're going to come in and add a little bit more meat sauce, because we made that meat sauce, we're going to use it. And we're just going to make a thin layer over top of this. And then once we get that done, we're going to cover the whole thing with mozzarella cheese. And you're going to be ready at this point to go in the oven. Now, mind you, you're going to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. You're going to bake this for at least maybe 25 minutes or so until you see the top of it get bubbly and kind of start to brown a little bit. And that's going to be when you know it's done. But go ahead and just put the mozzarella cheese over there. You can do it as thick or as thin a layer as you want. I always put a decent amount on top because I like the cheese. But if you're making this for yourself, you do it how you like it. And like I said, when this is done, it goes in the oven. And when it comes back, it looks something like this. And this has the most amazing flavor. It's really great to eat. And it's even better warmed up the next day, which is really cool because it just has that kind of kick that, you know what, you got a lot of meals out of this. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out my cookbooks, which are available in bookstores worldwide. The first is all about everyday cooking. The second is all about baking. Have a great day.